fleet hovered over Earth, a glittering armada of alien warships that stretched across the heavens like an unbroken storm. For centuries, the galaxy's ruling empires had expanded through conquest, crushing every species that dared resist their dominance. Humanity, stubborn and resourceful, had become their latest target. Earth was chaos. Cities burned as the coalition's orbital strikes decimated entire regions. Their mechs marched through the streets, unstoppable and merciless, while their drones blotted out the sky. Resistance forces scrambled to mount defenses, but the invaders' technology was decades, if not centuries, ahead of humanity's own. And yet, humanity wasn't surrendering. "Status report," Commander Leona Voss demanded as she strode into the command center deep beneath what was left of New Geneva. Her once pristine uniform was tattered and smeared with ash, but her voice was steel. "Sector 4 is gone," Lieutenant Arun Patel replied, his face pale but resolute. "The eastern defenses held out longer than expected, but their reinforcements overwhelmed us." Leona cursed under her breath, slamming a fist against the metal table. "We can't keep fighting them head-on. We need time." "What's the status on Project Odyssey?" A tense silence followed. Finally, Dr. Elena Sharp, a scientist whose brilliance was matched only by her exhaustion, looked up from her console. "The obelisk is active, but we're still not sure what it's fully capable of. This thing is older than any recorded human civilization. If we activate it, we might not survive the consequences." "We won't survive if we don't," Leona said. "Get it online." Dr. Sharp hesitated for only a moment before nodding grimly. In orbit, High Arbiter Xyrix, commander of the Coalition fleet, observed Earth's resistance with disdain. His elongated, insectoid form clicked with irritation as he watched the human forces struggle to repel his armies. "They are resilient," his subordinate noted, a scaled being with shimmering, emerald eyes. "Resilience without strength is meaningless," Xyrix hissed. "They have no chance. Humanity is a species of scavengers, grasping for survival. Destroy their command centers, burn their cities to the ground. Let this be their final lesson." Deep in an underground facility, Project Odyssey, humanity's last hope, shuddered to life. At its center was an obelisk of black stone, engraved with pulsating symbols that seemed to shift and shimmer when looked at too closely. The artifact had been unearthed decades ago, its origins a mystery, its power untested. Now, it thrummed with energy as its systems came online. "Commander, we're ready," Dr. Sharp said, her voice trembling. Leona stood before the obelisk, her heart pounding. "What are we dealing with, Doctor?" "We're not sure," Sharp admitted. "This isn't just a weapon, it's something else, something alive." Before Leona could respond, the obelisk emitted a low, resonant hum. The lights in the room flickered, and a voice, deep and ancient, filled the chamber. "I am Odyssey, guardian of Terra. Who calls upon me?" Leona stepped forward. "Earth is under attack. We need your help." The obelisk pulsed. "The Coalition seeks to erase you. Humanity is on the brink of extinction. Do you invoke the Legacy Protocol?" Leona's throat tightened. "What is the cost?" "The cost is survival. Do you accept?" Leona hesitated for only a moment. Then, with a steady voice, she said, "Yes." Above Earth, the battle was shifting. Coalition warships suddenly faltered, their systems failing. On the ground, mechs stopped mid-stride, their pilots screaming as their interfaces overloaded. Drones plummeted from the skies, lifeless. The Coalition's technological superiority was collapsing, and chaos erupted within their ranks. At the same time, Earth's forces surged. Soldiers who had been on the verge of retreat now found themselves overwhelming the enemy. Civilians joined the fight, armed with scavenged weapons. The tide was turning. In orbit, High Arbiter Xyrix stared in disbelief as one of his flagships was ripped apart by an invisible force. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Our systems, they're being rewritten," an engineer stammered. "The humans, they've activated something. It's adapting to our technology," turning it against us. Xyrix's mandibles clicked furiously. Retreat! Regroup at the edge of the system. But it was too late. From the surface of Earth, a wave of energy erupted into space, targeting the coalition ships. One by one, the warships disintegrated, their hulks falling into orbit as burning debris. When the last coalition ship was destroyed, silence fell over the planet. Fires still burned, and the air was thick with smoke. But for the first time in weeks, there was no sound of gunfire or explosions. Humanity had survived. Leona stood in the war room, staring at the obelisk. Its light was fading, its symbols growing dim. "Is it over?" Arun asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "For now," Leona replied, "but they'll be back." The obelisk hummed faintly. "You have won a reprieve, but the galaxy will not forget what you have done. Prepare. Your journey has only begun." With that, the obelisk powered down, leaving the room in darkness. In the weeks that followed, humanity began to rebuild. Nations that had once been divided by borders and politics now worked together as one. The remnants of alien technology were salvaged and studied, laying the foundation for humanity's first interstellar ships. Earth's victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Coalition, once considered invincible, had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. On distant worlds, whispers of humanity's defiance spread among oppressed species, igniting the first sparks of rebellion. Leona stood on the edge of a rebuilt New Geneva, looking up at the sky. The stars were still there, but now, so was the debris of the Coalition fleet, silent reminders of the battle that had been won. "We're not just survivors anymore," she said quietly, "we're something more." Humanity had proven that it wasn't just resilient, it was unpredictable, united, and, above all, dangerous. The galaxy had underestimated them once. It wouldn't happen again. The smoke had barely begun to clear. Across Earth, the skies remained thick with ash and the remnants of alien warships that now orbited as glittering debris. Fires burned unchecked in the ruins of cities, and the cries of the wounded echoed through streets littered with rubble. Victory had come, but it felt hollow. Earth was still standing, but at what cost? Commander Leona Voss stood on the cracked steps of what had once been the United Nations headquarters in New Geneva. Now, it was little more than a skeleton of steel and concrete, a symbol of Earth's devastation. She looked out at the gathered crowd, survivors, soldiers, engineers, medics, and civilians, huddled together amidst the ruins. For the first time in human history, she began, her voice raw but steady, "We fought as one. Not as nations, not as factions, but as a united species. And we survived." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Survivors, many of whom hadn't eaten in days, nodded silently. For weeks, they had fought an enemy they barely understood, their unity forged in desperation. Now, they stood together, bound by something far stronger than politics or borders. "But survival is only the beginning," Leona continued. "We've won the battle, but we're not safe. The Coalition will return. They'll see us as a bigger threat than ever. If we're going to endure, we must rebuild. We must become stronger than they ever imagined." She stepped down, leaving the crowd to process her words. The challenges ahead seemed insurmountable, but Leona had seen something in humanity during the battle, a fire, a resilience that even the galaxy's mightiest empires hadn't anticipated. And that gave her hope. Across the planet, the slow process of rebuilding began. Nations had collapsed, their leaders either dead or missing, but new alliances were forming. In place of borders, humanity now worked together, pooling resources and expertise. Engineers and scientists from across the globe began salvaging alien wreckage, reverse engineering the Coalition's advanced technology. What had once been humanity's doom was now its lifeline. In the ruins of Hong Kong, drones salvaged components from a downed Coalition destroyer while human engineers puzzled over its propulsion systems. In Cairo, biologists studied alien medical kits, hoping to adapt them to treat Earth's wounded. Even in the most devastated regions, humanity's ingenuity shone through. Dr. Elena Sharp, still haunted by her role in activating Project Aegis, worked tirelessly in a new underground facility. The obelisk had powered down after the battle, but it remained intact, its strange runes dormant yet watchful. The question of what Aegis truly was gnawed at her. Was it a tool? A sentient being? Or something far older, something humanity had barely scratched the surface of? She stared at the obelisk, her voice barely a whisper. What price did we pay for this victory? There was no answer. But deep down, she knew. Aegis hadn't warned of a cost without reason. Whatever humanity had awakened, it wasn't over. Meanwhile, across Earth, the survivors grappled with the personal toll of the battle. Families searched for missing loved ones. Soldiers who had faced horrors unimaginable tried to find their footing in a shattered world. Small acts of kindness became lifelines, shared rations, makeshift shelters, and moments of quiet solidarity amidst the chaos. In the heart of what remained of New York City, a young girl stood beside her father, staring up at the sky. The stars were still visible, but they were outnumbered by the glittering wreckage of alien ships now trapped in Earth's orbit. "Do you think they'll come back?" the girl asked. Her father knelt down, his hands resting on her shoulders. "Maybe. But if they do, we'll be ready." Despite the devastation, humanity's spirit began to rise. Across the world, new leaders emerged, not politicians, but those who had proven themselves during the invasion. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers worked alongside everyday civilians, united by a shared purpose. One of the first global initiatives was the formation of the Terran Accord, a council representing all of Earth's regions. The Accord's mission was clear: to rebuild Earth's cities, prepare for future threats, and ensure that humanity would never again be caught unprepared. Leona Voss, now a prominent leader within the Accord, pushed for rapid advancements in military technology. "We've seen what the galaxy thinks of us," she told the council. "They think we're weak, chaotic, and unworthy of survival. We're going to prove them wrong." Under her guidance, humanity began constructing the Aegis fleet, a new line of warships built using hybrid technology, Earth's ingenuity fused with salvaged alien designs. What had once been humanity's greatest disadvantage, its lack of interstellar capabilities, was now its top priority. The first ships were small, barely capable of reaching the moon, but they represented something greater, humanity's first step toward the stars. Beyond Earth, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The coalition's defeat sent shockwaves across countless empires. For millennia, they had seen humanity as little more than a nuisance, a primitive species not worth their attention. Now, the coalition fleet, the strongest force in the galaxy, had been utterly destroyed. In the shadowy halls of a distant empire, an alien emissary addressed their council. "The humans survived. Worse, they're adapting. If we don't act quickly, they will become a threat unlike anything we've faced." But not all in the galaxy viewed humanity with fear. On distant worlds, whispers of admiration spread among other oppressed species. Stories of Earth's defiance reached the ears of those yearning for freedom. For them, humanity's victory was more than an anomaly, it was a spark of hope. Months after the battle, Leona stood atop the rebuilt United Nations Tower, now repurposed as the headquarters of the Terran Accord. The skyline of New Geneva was still a patchwork of ruins and scaffolding, but the city was alive with activity. The people of Earth were rebuilding, not just their cities, but their future. As she looked out over the horizon, Leona allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. They had survived the impossible. The coalition would return, yes, but humanity would be ready. And when the day came, they wouldn't just defend Earth. They would take their place among the stars. The stars above Earth flickered with the presence of an invading armada. Warships from a dozen alien empires loomed in orbit, their metallic hulls blotting out the heavens. For the coalition of ascendant powers, Earth was a thorn, a reckless, defiant species that needed to be eradicated. Tonight, they would finish the job. On the planet below, chaos unfolded, cities crumbled under relentless bombardments, and the air was filled with the roar of fighter jets and alien drones locked in deadly combat. Resistance forces across the globe fought valiantly, but even the most stalwart defenders knew humanity's time was running out. In the smoldering ruins of New Geneva, hope rested on a secret buried deep beneath the earth. Sector 6 is about to collapse, Lieutenant Arun Patel said, bursting into the war room with urgency. His face was pale but determined as he stood before Commander Leona Voss, a decorated leader whose sharp gaze betrayed her exhaustion. Leona leaned over a holographic map, watching red dots, the coalition forces, close in on a bunker near the Atlantic coast. Tell the ground teams to hold their positions, she ordered. We just need a few more hours. Arun frowned. The bunker's defenses won't last long if we divert resources. We can't let them take the bunker, Leona snapped. Everything depends on Project Aegis. The name hung heavy in the air. Project Aegis, a weapon, a relic of humanity's ancient past, shrouded in secrecy for decades. Few knew what it truly was, but it had been activated as a last, desperate gamble to turn the tide of annihilation. Miles above, aboard the coalition flagship, High Arbiter Xyrix studied Earth's resistance with growing frustration. His towering, insectoid form radiated impatience as his 6 limbs twitched. Pathetic, Xyrix hissed to his second-in-command, a scaled creature with black, unblinking eyes. These humans fight like cornered beasts. No strategy, no sense, just stubborn desperation. They are tenacious, the subordinate replied, but their defeat is certain. Xyrix clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Still, their defiance is troubling. Destroy the bunker near the Atlantic. Whatever they're hiding must not survive. Deep within the earth, the bunker hummed with activity. Engineers and scientists scurried between glowing consoles, working furiously to awaken humanity's last hope. At the center of the cavernous room stood the obelisk, a towering monolith of dark, metallic stone etched with pulsating symbols that seemed to whisper to those who gazed too long. Dr. Elena Sharp, Project Aegis lead scientist, wiped sweat from her brow as she worked on the console. The core is reactivated, she said, her voice strained. But we don't fully understand what this thing is capable of. It's more than a weapon, it's something else. Commander Voss stepped forward, her jaw tight. We don't need to understand it. We just need it to work. Power it up. Elena hesitated. If we unleash this, there's no going back. There's nothing to go back to if we don't, Leona said sharply. Do it. With a reluctant nod, Elena input the final commands. The obelisk shuddered, its symbols glowing with an eerie blue light. The ground trembled beneath their feet as a deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber. I am Aegis, guardian of Terra. Who dares disturb my slumber? The room fell silent. Leona stepped forward, her voice steady. Earth is under attack. We need your help. The obelisk pulsed, the voice contemplative. The coalition seeks to destroy you. You are on the brink of extinction. Do you invoke the Legacy Protocol? Leona didn't hesitate. Yes. Be warned, the price will be great, but if humanity wishes to survive, so be it. The obelisk roared to life, releasing a wave of energy that surged outward. Across the battlefield, the effects were immediate. Coalition warships in orbit faltered, their systems shorting out, weapons powered down, shields crumbled, and engines failed. On the ground, alien mechs turned on their operators, drones fell from the skies, and chaos erupted among the invaders. Humanity seized the moment. Ground forces surged forward, striking at vulnerable coalition units. Civilians armed with scavenged weapons joined the fight, their determination fueled by the sight of their enemies finally faltering. Cities that had been written off as lost began pushing back, inch by bloody inch. On the coalition flagship, High Arbiter Xyrix stared at his monitors in disbelief. What is this? He snarled. mandibles clacking furiously. "It's their weapon," an engineer stammered, panic in their voice. "It's rewriting the fabric of our systems. Every piece of technology we have, it's turning against us." "Fall back," Xyrix roared. "All ships, retreat to orbit, regroup." Before the order could be carried out, tendrils of light shot up from the Earth, latching onto the Coalition fleet. One by one, the warships were torn apart by the same force that had disabled them, reduced to burning debris that rained down on the planet below. The once mighty Coalition fleet was annihilated in minutes. When the battle ended, silence descended over the ruined cities of Earth. Smoke and fire choked the skies, and the ground was littered with the wreckage of human and alien machines alike. Yet, against all odds, humanity stood victorious. In the bunker, the obelisk powered down, its glow fading. Leona stood before it, her shoulders heavy with exhaustion. "You saved us," she said quietly. The voice returned, softer now. "I fulfilled my purpose, but the Coalition will return. Unity is your strength. If you are to survive, you must remain united. Do not squander this chance." With those final words, the obelisk fell silent. Earth's victory came at an unimaginable cost. Entire cities were gone, millions of lives lost, and humanity now bore the weight of a galaxy's enmity. Yet, for the first time in history, the people of Earth were united, not by borders or nations, but by their survival. As Leona looked out over the battlefield, she felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity had proven its resilience, its ingenuity, and its unwillingness to surrender. They were no longer just survivors of an attack. They were a force to be reckoned with. The galaxy would think twice before underestimating the most unpredictable species in the universe ever again. The night sky over Earth was littered with stars, as it had always been, but tonight, it burned with unfamiliar lights. Warships from a dozen alien empires hung in orbit, blotting out the heavens. The coalition of ascendant powers, an interstellar alliance of empires that spanned the galaxy, had made their intent clear. Humanity was to be eradicated. Earth's defiance, unpredictability, and growing technological prowess were deemed a threat to galactic stability. For them, it wasn't just conquest, it was an extermination. On the ground, chaos reigned. Cities were crumbling under relentless orbital bombardments. The skies screamed with the sound of fighter jets and alien drones locked in deadly dogfights. Earth's resistance was valiant, but even the most optimistic knew it was a matter of time before humanity's last bastion would fall. Yet, in the ruins of New Geneva, hope still flickered. "They're going to hit the underground bunker next," Commander Leona Voss whispered to herself as she examined the map of the Coalition's assault patterns. She was a battle-hardened veteran, her once pristine uniform now scorched and tattered, her hazel eyes, sharp and calculating, fixed on a blinking red dot near the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. The bunker held humanity's last desperate gamble, Project Aegis, a relic from Earth's past that had remained buried and classified for decades. Few even knew of its existence, let alone its purpose. But Leona had been briefed. A weapon, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, lay dormant there. It was mankind's only chance. The door to the war room burst open, and Lieutenant Arun Patel strode in, his face pale but resolute. "Commander, they've breached Sector 6. Civilians are being evacuated to the catacombs, but we're losing ground fast." Leona nodded grimly. "We need to buy time. Divert all remaining ground forces to Sector 6. Focus on bottlenecks and ambushes. Keep them bogged down." Arun hesitated. "That'll leave the bunker defenseless." "It doesn't matter," Leona said firmly. "If Project Aegis isn't activated, none of this will matter anyway." Miles above, aboard the flagship of the Coalition fleet, High Arbiter Xyrix observed Earth's resistance with disdain. The insectoid leader, with mandibles clicking in irritation, turned to his second-in-command. "These humans are like vermin, persistent, cunning. They waste lives for meaningless victories." "They're desperate," the subordinate replied, but they cannot hope to win. Their cities crumble, their fleets burn. It is only a matter of time. Xyrix nodded. Still, their defiance is troubling. I want their leaders captured. I want to see the fire leave their eyes before we end this. In the bunker, Leona and her team worked furiously. The room was a labyrinth of cables, consoles, and glowing monitors. At the center of it all was a towering obelisk of black metal, etched with runes and circuitry far beyond modern understanding. Project Aegis. Is it ready? Leona barked, her voice cutting through the tense silence. Dr. Elena Sharp, the project's lead scientist, shook her head, sweat beading on her forehead. We've reactivated the core, but the interface it's ancient, prehistoric. This isn't just a weapon, it's something else entirely. If we turn it on, we may not be able to control it. We don't have a choice, Leona said. Do it. Elena hesitated but began inputting commands. The obelisk hummed to life, the runes glowing with an eerie blue light. The ground trembled as the machine awakened, releasing a pulse that rippled across the planet. Suddenly, the room filled with a voice, deep, resonant, and unmistakably human. I am Aegis, guardian of Terra. Who dares disturb my slumber? Leona stepped forward, her heart pounding. Earth is under attack. We need your help. The voice paused, as though considering her words. Then it responded. The coalition seeks to erase humanity. You are on the brink of extinction. Do you wish to invoke the Legacy Protocol? Leona didn't hesitate. Yes. Understood. Be warned, the price of survival is steep. Before anyone could ask what that meant, Aegis unleashed its power. A wave of energy surged outward, enveloping the planet. Across the battlefield, coalition ships faltered. Their systems shorted, their weapons failed, and their shields crumbled. On the ground, coalition forces screamed as their technology betrayed them. Mechs turned on their pilots, drones spiraled out of control. The once invincible invaders were now vulnerable. Humanity struck back with everything they had. Jets, tanks, and ground troops surged forward, exploiting the chaos. Civilians armed with whatever they could find joined the fray, pushing the coalition forces back. Above, High Arbiter Xyrix watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated. What is this sorcery? Not sorcery, one of his engineers stammered. Their weapon is rewriting the fabric of our systems. It's adapting to us faster than we can counter. Xyrix's mandibles trembled. Fall back. Retreat to orbit. But it was too late. Aegis wasn't done. From the obelisk, tendrils of light shot into the sky, targeting the coalition ships. One by one, they were obliterated, torn apart by a force that defied comprehension. In moments, the once mighty fleet was reduced to debris. When the battle ended, silence fell over the earth. Fires burned in the distance, and the air was thick with the scent of ash. But humanity had won. In the bunker, Leona stared at the obelisk. You saved us. I fulfilled my purpose, Aegis replied, but the coalition will return. You must be ready. Unity is your strength. Do not squander it. With that, the obelisk powered down, its runes fading. The victory came at a cost. Cities lay in ruins, millions were lost, and humanity now carried the weight of Aegis' warning. But for the first time in history, Earth stood united, not just as a planet, but as a species. As Leona looked out over the battlefield, she felt a spark of hope. Humanity had proven its resilience. They were no longer just survivors, they were warriors. And when the galaxy underestimated them again, they would be ready. After all, humanity's greatest strength had always been its unpredictability.